shot. Well, for more on this, we can speak to Adam Hadley, who is the founder of Tech Against Terrorism, an organisation dedicated to disrupting terrorists online. Thanks very much for your time here on BBC News, Adam. There was an awful lot of disinformation spread about this online.
Unfortunately, what we saw is that there was a huge amount of coordinated activity before the protest, during and after. And at Tech Against Terrorism, what we do is monitor the use of the internet by the extreme far right and also by violent extremists on the internet. And what we find is there is a huge amount of material available, and often social media platforms will only remove this when it's too late.
And we heard from the Prime Minister saying yesterday that violent disorder was whipped up online. But what can actually be done about this? How do we track these people and stop it happening?
Part of the problem is that many of those seeking to drive grievance and divide society are really good at using social media platforms and their own websites to do so. And often what we find is that extremists and also nation states working to provide disinformation will use a variety of platforms. And what we feel is needed is more of a cross-platform approach. Many platforms will look at their own platform. The problem, however, is when extremists and others will hop from platform to another.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the problem here is that one person posts something, then it gets shared and then shared again. So it's numerous people posting something, and in that volume, almost it seems to become fact when there's a lot of people saying the same thing, and then you get delivered that as part of your social media suggestions. So is this a case of those social media companies trying to prevent those algorithms from doing that, from stopping that? Do we need humans here, I guess is what I'm saying.
We certainly do, and most social media platforms have invested a huge amount in building algorithms, both to promote content and also detect harmful content. What we find, however, is that there are sophisticated bot networks that will often identify polarizing content and then automatically start resharing it. And what we found with the recent protests is that in some cases there's content shared on TikTok or on Facebook or wherever. And potentially it's just one or two posters or one or two images. But in these cases, what we found, sometimes within minutes and within hours, this content has been shared many hundreds of thousands of times. And this is part of the problem. It only takes one or two pieces of content that's picked up by bot networks, potentially reshared by a few people. It can become viral extremely quickly. The challenge there is that platforms often are unable to respond quickly enough. And government as well. So we're calling for more coordination between government and platforms, because the reality of the situation is that you've got to respond within minutes, not within hours.
And I guess the problem is also that there's no kind of correction. You know, if you get something wrong on social media, you don't have to then post again saying, oh, actually, I was incorrect. This is the fact. It just stays there.
Well, exactly. And in many cases, it's too late then, because the idea has been shared. And even if there is a correction, people will still tend to believe it anyway. So this is the asymmetry of the problem. It's so easy for this material to get out there and start spreading. It's very difficult to counter it unless you can do that really quickly and in a way where you're cooperating between platforms and also government departments as well.
OK, well, have to leave it there. It's a very complicated issue. Adam Hadley, we appreciate your time.